How important was education to your family?
It was very important. Very important to me, actually. When I was in the Philippines, I was already starting college. Um, but then when we received our papers to migrate to the United States, I decided to leave the university and to study in the United States. Being only 17, I had to go back to high school, even though I've already graduated high school in the Philippines. And since back then we didn't have middle school, I didn't have enough credits to graduate high school in the United States. So I went back to um, high school and then went to a 4 year university after that. And I really, when my parents and I were discussing the migration to the United States, I told them that the main reason I wanted to move to the United States was to study, because I believe that my degree from the United States will be accepted everywhere, no questions asked, versus a degree from the Philippines. You know, if I move to the United States after college from the Philippines, I'm pretty sure there will be other classes or requirements that I would need to provide in order for my degree to be acknowledged.
What were your plans and goals for the future?
My plan is to um, create a future for my daughter um, that is better than what I had experienced. The sacrifices that my parents had to make and the things that I had to sacrifice also, um, I pray that those are sacrifices that she doesn't have to make. Um, and so that's my goal. That's why my husband and I are working really hard, um, because we want our daughter to have more opportunities than we've had. Um, and yeah, so that's what we want to happen.
So, can you tell me again from what school did you graduate? Elementary, high school, and college?
Elementary was in the Philippines. It was a small school called Cafuir Learning Center. I graduated high school in the Philippines at St. Augustine School. And then here in the United States, graduated high school from Jefferson High School in Daly City. And then graduated from UC Davis.
Can you give a positive and negative experience about your high school and college education?
Negative in high school, I think, would be that it wasn't challenging enough. Um, Having the experience of studying both in the Philippines and in the United States, I thought that the high school education here was not challenging enough, and I think schools in Asia are just more strict. The curriculum is just so much more demanding, and so that I think is negative because it does not really prepare students for the university experience. And I think because the standard is so low, the expectations from high school students are also very low. Positive in high school would be um, being surrounded by a lot of Filipinos, because that was my adjustment period to the United States. And so it provided a different environment and yet very many familiar faces. And so that was a good thing. And in college, I only have good memories actually of my time at Davis, because I think the curriculum was challenging. Um, the students, it was a very diverse student body. Even the instructors were diverse. I actually had a professor who was Filipina. Um, and then I took, I even took a class on Philippine history so that I can get an easy A. But actually, taking that class gave me a perspective, because I think history classes that are taught in different countries are very biased towards that country. So the Philippine history that I studied in the Philippines is very Filipino centric, versus the Philippine history that I studied in college gave me a perspective from an American perspective that wasn't available uh, back when I was studying in the Philippines. Not to say that the history is different, but the way people think about events that happened are very different, which was astonishing to me.
Okay, to end this interview, what advice about education would you give to the teenagers who will migrate to US?
That's actually one of the things that I want to do. I really want to reach out to new immigrants, especially teenagers from the United States. I want them to value education. There are a lot of gifted Filipino students that come to the United States. They find a job, they start to make a little bit more money than they thought they would, and they start to forget about going to school. I think it is a waste of talent if they do that. They could be contributing so much more, not only economically, but also for the future generation. I think Filipinos among Asians have the largest working class percentage among all Asians. All other Asians, I think they value education more. They really push their children to go to school. And so the rates of college, the number of college educated other Asians are higher than Filipino college educated Filipino Americans. So go to school. If you've had some high school experience in the Philippines, you will find high school in the United States easy. You only have to put some work into it, and I think you'll pass. But college is another matter. But I think if 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 they're passionate, if they really want, if they're thinking more towards the future and not just earning a dollar, they will do so much better. Their children will do so much better. Um, Teenagers have to remember that their parents' ceiling is their floor. So if their parents only reach this much, that's where they start. So I want, like, my dream for my daughter, my husband's and mine, we want our ceiling to be so high so that when it's time for our daughter to do what she needs to do, then she will start off higher, she will start off better. And I hope that all the new immigrant, not just Filipino immigrants, but all new immigrants, new immigrant teenagers will think about that, and not, again, not just for the dollar, but for their future and the future of their children.